Hi, good evening. My name is Jeffrey Howell, and I will be talking about the effects of the designated hitter on the game of baseball. The smell of peanuts and Cracker Jacks fill the air as baseball fans eagerly scramble to their seats before the first pitch. Each game is choreographed with precision to maintain the history and integrity of the game. The game of baseball is America's pastime and has remained unchanged for decades. The game of baseball is played with two teams of 9 players, each recording 27 outs. However, January 11, 1973 changed the game of baseball forever by introducing the designated hitter, commonly referred to as the DH. The rule allows a designated pinch hitter for the pitcher while still allowing the pitcher to remain in the game. Historically, pitchers have struggled with the art of hitting. According to the Baseball Almanac, in 2014, pitchers recorded an out 82% of the time they approached the plate. Additionally, pitchers recorded historical lows for batting average, on-base percentage, and slugging capability. The use of the designated hitter has made baseball an offensive game, prolonged the careers of players, while breaking the mundane predictability of the hitting pitcher. Prior to 1973, baseball was a low-scoring pitching duel that featured the hit and run, sacrifice bunting, and the double switch. A designated hitter rule change was passed to boost attendance in the American League and promote scoring. The 3 years preceding the DH rule, the National League drew 36% more fans to their ballparks than the American League. The profession of Major League Baseball is a for-profit enterprise built around the fan experience. Therefore, it's easy to understand the urgency of the American League owners to pass the DH rule. The DH was initially passed with the caveat that it would be provisional for 3 years while the analytic data could be studied. However, the American League owners never looked back and adopted the rule as a permanent change. The designated hitter made baseball an offensive juggernaut. On April 6, 1973, Ron Blomberg stepped into the batter's box as the first American League designated hitter. Blomberg was not the stereotypical designated hitter the American League owners envisioned when they passed Major League Baseball Rule 6.10, authorizing the DH. He was at the pinnacle of his career, just 24 years old, and a premier hitter and above-average defender. However, a pulled hamstring in the closing days of spring training prohibited him from taking the field as a defender. Fortunately for the managerial staff of the Boston Red Sox, Blomberg was still capable of swinging a bat. Between the years 1973 and 1976, the leagues remained even in terms of runs scored. As depicted in this chart, that drastically changed in 1977 when the designated hitter began to impact the league. In that year, the American League scored 2,000 more runs than the National League, and the impact of the DH had on the game of baseball had finally come to fruition. In 1981, there was a decline in runs scored in baseball, and that was a result of a shortened season due to strike. The designated hitter has afforded baseball players the opportunity to prolong their careers long after their defensive skills have diminished. The most notable designated hitter is Boston's Red Sox David Ortiz, who is set to retire this year at the age of 40. David Ortiz, nicknamed Big Papi, has played 19 years in Major League Baseball and has made a career out of the designated hitter position. A 10-time All-Star with Boston, Big Papi has recorded over 500 home runs throughout his career. This year has been historic for David Ortiz, as he's putting up record numbers. This would not have been possible if not for the designated hitter position. It afforded him the opportunity to impact the game with his bat. In addition to prolonged batters' career, it has paid dividends for pitchers in the American League. It's widely believed that the pitcher is the most talented position on any baseball team. The pitcher spends hundreds of hours perfecting their craft with pinpoint accuracy. American League pitchers do not expend or exert any energy on situational batting and can devote their time to the arts of pitching. Finally, American League managers are not faced with the decision to pinch hit for the pitcher, requiring the manager to remove the pitcher from the game. The early 20th century was known in baseball as the Dead Era. The United States was at war and the resources were scarce throughout the country. As a result, the cost of baseballs were inflated and owners discouraged home runs. Baseball began to change its situational game that relied on hitting and runs to move runners into scoring position. Metaphorically speaking, the baseball field shrunk to an all-time low and scoring was a premium. However, as the Dead Era ended and baseball was put back into the spotlight, the home run ball snowballed in popularity. People traveled far and long to see George Herman Ruth hit home runs in his stint with the New York Yankees and the Boston Red Sox. Having the pitcher bat slowed the game of baseball and became mundane and predictable. The pitchers were exiting games early because they were pinch hit for in the inning before. If the pitcher remained in the game, he would likely strike out swinging or sacrifice bunt to move the runner along the base path. The DH position added a new dynamic to the game and afforded the paying fans a matchup of the best hitters and pitchers in the league. In conclusion, I implore you to embrace the designated hitter position, as it has positively affected the game of baseball. The designated hitter position has been talked about from the beginning of the 20th century, but did not gain steam until 1973 at the owners' winter meetings. There, the owners assembled and passed the most controversial rule in baseball history. The debate would spark outrage with baseball purists, media, and fan base. The debate rages on like the rivalry between the New York Yankees and the Boston Red Sox, each side believing they are correct. However, the impact the DH has had on the game of baseball cannot be overshadowed. The use of the designated hitter has made baseball an offensive game, prolonged the careers of players, while breaking the mundane predictability of the hitting pitcher. Because of the DH, the game of baseball has remained relevant for the last 3 decades. Thank you, and have a good evening.